Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar, El Cid, Spain's greatest knight. El Cid is one of those historical characters in whose deeds, reality and myth emerge. Time consecrated him as an example of chivalry thanks to the Cantar de Mil Cid, composed in the 13th century. Although his fame endures today as one of the most famous knights of the Middle Ages, thanks to his historiography, we know his life and deeds better. This allows us to better understand the Cid as he was in reality, far from the chivalric idealization that still lingers in the popular imagination. Now, who was Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar? And what did the Cid do to be so famous? Let's find out. From squire to knight. We hardly know about Rodrigo's youth. The sources begin to tell us about him when he starts to be linked to the military activities of the court of the Kingdom of Leon. It is believed that he was born near Burgos, in a small village called Vivar. It is believed that he was born between 1040 and 1050 in the bosom of a noble family, the Flaines. Although there is debate about the family's origin, whether he was of a more humble status or if he really came from that family, there is a great consensus in affirming that his father was Diego Lainez, who served Fernando I, King of Leon. Nothing is known of his mother, nor is it known if he had brothers or sisters. In any case, Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar grew up in the court of Ferdinand I, where he received the training befitting of a young aristocrat of the time. In his adolescence, he would already shine in the military field by serving as squire of the firstborn son of Ferdinand I, the infant Sancho. When Ferdinand I died, his will divided his kingdom among his sons, bequeathing the new kingdom of Castile to his son Sancho. As a vassal of the already crowned Sancho II of Castile, Rodrigo continued to work as a squire until he was knighted by Sancho himself. After all, Rodrigo accompanied Sancho II in his military campaigns, earning his worth on the battlefield. Apparently, he began to build his reputation as a warrior when he fought a duel in the name of his lord to dispute a castle with the King of Navarre, emerging victorious. In addition, Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar participated in two important battles between Castile and Leon, Lantanda and Golpareja, where he played an outstanding role. The latter victory allowed Sancho II to capture his brother Alfonso VI and banish him, but the first military setback in which Rodrigo was involved was the siege of Zamora. The siege of the stronghold ended abruptly when Sancho II was killed, causing chaos in the Castilian army. This event led to the return of Alfonso VI to his throne in Leon. Rodrigo's martial qualities were good enough for Alfonso VI to welcome him to his court. In the service of Alfonso VI. Rodrigo's martial prowess made him a key figure in the court of the Leonese monarch, something that Alfonso VI wanted to reward by uniting Rodrigo in marriage with Jimena Diaz, daughter of the Count of Oviedo, since such a marriage would reinforce his social status and position in the court. He was also in charge of collecting the prowess, the tax paid by the Taifa kingdoms, the kingdoms that emerged after the fragmentation of the Caliphate of Cordoba. This tax allowed the Taifas that paid at a truce with the Christian kingdom of the day, as well as their protection against any external threat. In 1079, Rodrigo was sent to the Taifa kingdom of Seville to claim the tribute that was delayed, but the mission did not end up being entirely diplomatic. The Taifa king of Seville, Al-Mutamid, convinced Rodrigo with a good sum of money to defend him against his rival, the Taifa of Granada, which was raiding his territory. It was customary at the time to wage war through attrition, with raids of cavalcades being popular. These types of operations were aimed at making quick strikes in enemy territory to acquire booty, supplies, or simply to sow chaos. Aware of the situation, Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar set out to repel the raiders in the Battle of Cabra in 1079, where his personal host, together with the civilian troops, defeated the Grenadians and the Christian troops of Garcia Ordonez. The latter was taken prisoner along with several knights, but they were released unconditionally. The success of the Battle of Cabra boosted the reputation of Rodrigo, who returned to the court amidst cheers, as he brought with him the tribute claimed and additional booty that had not been planned. Although this event probably did not sit well with the Leonese monarch, relations between Alfonso VI and Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar would worsen considerably a year later. A raid carried out by Rodrigo out of lust for booty caused the anger of his king. He had entered the Taifa of Toledo without the approval of Alfonso VI, an act that would cost him his banishment from the kingdom. Mercenary. The exile meant a transcendental turn in the life of Rodrigo Díaz, who was already known as the Campeador. He had to make a living in exile, and to do so, he had to do what he knew best: war. Both of the Christian kingdoms and the Saracen Taifas knew about warfare. Thus, he fought under the banner of an old acquaintance, Al-Muqtadir, king of the Taifa of Saragossa. The addition of his martial skills, Rodrigo brought a cohesive and powerful army, with well-disciplined armoured cavalry that could be overwhelming if well employed on the battlefield. When Al-Muqtadir died, he divided his dominions between his two sons, separating the Taifa of Zaragoza from the Taifa of Lerida. Rodrigo el Campeador continued to support Zaragoza, this time in the hands of Al-Mu'tamin. As was to be expected, hostilities soon flourished between the two Taifas, attracting the attention of neighbouring Christian nobles who opportunely decided to support the Taifa of Lerida. In the Battle of Almenar in the summer of 1802, Rodrigo el Campeador defeated the Taifa of Lerida and also captured Ramon Berenguer II, Count of Barcelona. 2 days later, on August 14, 1084, he also defeated the combined troops of the Taifa of Lerida and the King of Aragon Sancho Ramirez in the Battle of Morella. These military successes allowed the Taifa of Zaragoza to consolidate its position in the region. For this reason, Rodrigo el Campeador began to be acclaimed as Cid, an Andalusian term for my lord, which is believed to be the point of the origin of his name, Mio Cid, or El Cid. Lord of Valencia. The Cid was facing an internal dilemma since Alfonso VI, who had recently conquered Toledo, had among his plans to conquer Zaragoza. But the Almoravid invasion of the peninsula was a turning point. The defeat of the Leonese king at Sagrajas in October 1085 highlighted the need for more troops, which is why he provided the Cid with a pardon. In addition, the Taifa of Zaragoza now had to strictly comply with Islamic law, and it was not well seen that a Christian would lead his troops. Thus, Rodrigo el Cid Campeador would return to fight as a vassal of Alfonso VI, who commissioned him to reinforce his protectorate in Valencia. In 1087, he went to the Levantine city to repel known enemies, the Taifa of Lerida and Ramon Berenguer II. Again, his military skill was decisive. His campaigns allowed him to repel the invaders and bring stability to the Taifa of Valencia. However, the Cid would soon find himself in an even more complex situation. Between 1088 and 1089, the Almoravids returned to the peninsula and decided to proceed to the castle of Aledo. Alfonso VI had ordered the Cid to come to the rescue, but a logistical problem halted his advance. Alfonso VI took charge with his host to repel the Almoravids and banished the Cid for not coming to the confrontation in time. For this reason, the Cid again had to forge his destiny on his own. By means of the War of Attrition and Positions, he obtained several tributaries along the Levant, which allowed him to dominate a large part of the Levant. He also reformed some fortified enclaves, such as Peña Carrier, to make it the base of his operations. Most of the neighbouring powers, whether Muslim or Christian, did not take kindly to this. They tried in a series of campaigns to wrest his new domains from El Cid, but were unable to do so. The only one who could really put him in check were the Almoravids. In 1092, a pro-Almoravid Valencian faction seizes power and executes the current ruler, Al-Qadir. El Cid, seeing that he was losing one of his main tributaries, decided to take matters into his own hands and besiege Valencia. After besieging it for more than a year, in June 1094, he captures Valencia, although he had not yet completely defeated. The Almoravids, who had come to the aid of the rebels in the city, surrounded El Cid, who had now had to defend the city he had conquered. This led to the Battle of Cuarte on October 21st, 1094, where El Cid Campeador won a decisive victory. A triumph that not only secured his position as Lord of Valencia, but also put the Almoravids away for a time. El Cid was aware that the Almoravids would return sooner or later, so his main concern was to seal alliances with relevant Christian powers, such as the Kingdom of Aragon or the County of Barcelona, to eventually repel the North African threat. These were the last steps of Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar, since he died in July of 1099 by natural causes, surely caused by the wear of his intense political and military life. In conclusion, Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar, or El Cid Campeador, was a brilliant military man for his time. He understood very well the fundamentals of medieval warfare, since his mastery in the War of Attrition and Positions led him to excel as a military leader. He was accustomed to fight pitched battles and win each one of them, something out of the ordinary since these confrontations were very rare due to the risk they entailed. For these reasons, it is not surprising that a certain myth has been generated around the figure of the Cid Campeador, becoming one of the most representative historical figures of the Middle Ages in the Iberian Peninsula. Don't close the video yet. Before you go, please subscribe and leave us a like if you like the content. It will help us to grow and continue making much more content. Now, without further ado, we say goodbye.